For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Welcome to Yesterday Was Easy. That verse I just read is the last part of 1 Samuel 17:26, and it's from the David and Goliath narrative. We all know the story. Shoot, even the unbelievers know the story. How many times have you heard of some matchup in professional sports labeled as a classic David versus Goliath contest? Every little boy loves this story because it is one of courage and fighting and swords and blood and death. Every time I read my 3-year-old son's story Bible to him, he asks me to read the giant one, and sometimes more than once. Even though we all know how this conflict went down, I think most of us have overlooked what was actually written. Verses 24 through 27 in the ESV say, "All the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were much afraid. And the men of Israel said, 'Have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel. And the king will enrich the man who kills him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel.' And David said to the men who stood by him, 'What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine, and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?' And the people answered him in the same way, 'So shall it be done to the man who kills him.' So David came to the Israelite camp for the first time and saw Goliath breathing threats against the Israelite army. And again, his response to seeing this was, 'For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?' I don't know about you, but this makes me want to fight. This gets me all kinds of fired up. The entire Israelite army had fled from Goliath in utter fear. The text says that they were much afraid. But David, the tiny shepherd boy, not at all impressed by Goliath, was filled with boldness and courage. So, after declining Saul's personal armor, David then collected the 5 smooth stones from the brook for his sling and approached Goliath. Now, as a side note, I don't want to miss an important point. I'll be totally honest. Growing up, I always thought David turned down Saul's armor because it was too big. I am confident that is what all the flannel graph storyboards demonstrated to me. But if you read the text, this isn't at all the case. Verse 39 says that David turned down the armor because he had not tested it. This is such a subtle yet valuable lesson for us to learn. If you remember, I've actually discussed this in previous episodes. You should never carry a tool if you have not tested it. Blades, guns, tactical pins, slings, or in David's case, even body armor. You should never ever carry any of these on your person if you have not yet familiarized yourself nor practiced with them. David advanced towards Goliath carrying his staff, his shepherd's pouch, and his sling. These are the tools he knew and was comfortable with. This is a basic fundamental for good self-defense. David understood this. Be wise like David. Now back to the text. In verses 43 through 44, we see Goliath's reaction to David. And the Philistine moved forward and came near to David with his shield bearer in front of him. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and handsome in appearance. 'Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?' And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said to David, 'Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field.' David's reply was this: 'You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head, and I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand.'" The point I want to make is this: how often do we have the same courage that David had? How often do we face our enemies with that much confidence? Goliath is a perfect picture of the culture we're facing, the same spiteful, God-hating attitude we're up against. When the big, mean, and haughty culture is bearing down on us, when they say, "Are we dogs that you come to us with a book?" Our response should not be to duck and cover, nor run and hide. Unlike the Israeli army, we should not retreat. Our response should be, "Who are you, uncircumcised culture, that you should defy the armies of the living God?" When the culture spits at us and hurls insults and threatens us, our response should not be to find the nearest bunker and wait it out. Our response should be to confront them in the name of the Lord of hosts, to let them know that they have defied the God of the armies of Israel. But for what purpose? Why be courageous? As verse 47 says, "So that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and to declare that the Lord saves not with sword and spear." Far too many Christian men are cowards. Far too many Christian men lack the testicular fortitude to confront our enemies in the name of the Lord of hosts. Christ created all things and will reconcile all things to himself, the last being death itself. He has promised to vanquish the works of Satan. This battle belongs to him. We are but tools in his hand to accomplish total victory. What are we so afraid of? Like the men of Israel, why are we fleeing from the fight? The Lord doesn't promise to win every battle, but he does promise to win the war. The end has already been determined. A small shepherd boy understood this, and so should we. In his book on David and Goliath, author Malcolm Gladwell said this: "Courage is not something that you already have that makes you brave when the tough times start. Courage is what you earn when you've been through the tough times and you discover they aren't so tough after all." Yesterday was easy. Be courageous. Stay hard.